and I live in Sedona, Arizona. I began my path really young. I didn't have a lot of that mind chatter stuff because I was raised in such a way where I had a lot of alone time because I was an only child and I was an artist as a child, so I had a lot of alone time to just sit with myself. But as you get older, what starts to happen is those people come in your path or things come in and say, oh, you can't do that, or no, you're not going to stay here, or no, that's wrong. And for me, it's all about being humble and staying in that pure space of humility and knowing that there is a greater space or a greater mystery working through it. Because if I try to put my own will into it, it's not going to work. Because you always, I feel, in your heart know the right answer, but can you overcome the doubts, the fears, and a lot of times those traumatic experiences to step into that knowing? Because like coming to Sedona, there was a moment when I stopped at the Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs because it was about an hour to an hour and a half outside of Denver. And I stopped there because I needed courage to go forward. And I stopped there and I'm looking at my cat, and my cat's looking at me, and we're here in another Red Rock scene. And there was a woman outside my car who said, this is where the Native Americans would go to pray for courage when they were about to go to battle. And she was telling a little girl this, but she was telling me this. And I was like, oh, that's why we're here. And it was that pivotal moment because I knew if I was going to go forward, I would go forward and it was going to go forward. Or I had an opportunity to go back because it wasn't very far. And it was when she said that, I said, okay, I'm going forward. There's those moments of courage when you're asked to do something. And it could be like quit your job. It could be, go to school. It could be get married. It could be a lot of different things. But, if you let the fear stop you, you'll never get there. You'll never get there. But if you allow yourself to be courageous and step into love, anything can happen. But on the road, there'll be lots of people and things that will come and say, no, we can't do that. Who do you think you're to do that? Oh, no, you're going to end up in San Diego. Oh, no, you're going to do this. Oh, no, you're going to do that. And if you follow that, you'll be a mess. But if you follow your internal knowing, you'll always end up where you need to be. And it'll always be better. Because had I come with a bunch of stuff to Sedona and money and a knowing and a plan, I couldn't know that how the universe had my back. Because I didn't know that, not to that level. That trust. I've never been on a road that's paved and pretty and there's the white picket fence and the flower. It's like the road that I'm like, okay, now we got to get somebody to dig the road, and then we have to get somebody to level the road, and then it's always that road. When I was younger, I was always like, I want to be on that road, the other road. Why can't I be on the paved road? And every time I'd get on that road, it was unhappy. I didn't like it. My body responded in a way of letting me know. And I think that too is a lot of it. It's your body will literally respond. Sometimes when it's something totally you don't want to do, and you do it because of money or circumstance or whatever, your body will physically react, like that feeling like something drops, like your heart drops into your stomach kind of thing, or there's always signs. Now whether we listen to those signs is one thing or another, and sometimes something will feel real good and then you'll get into it and it won't, and you have to know when to keep going and when to just let it go too. And I think that's just with time you learn those things, and you go through bad experiences and good experiences to know that middle road for you. But in the beginning, if you're so used to operating from the second mind, it takes a lot of silence to get to that first mind, because that's where you'll find your intuition. It's not going to be the loudest voice. It's usually the quietest voice that'll say, hey. And I think that's everybody's struggle. It's just, how do you know if you've been, especially if you've operated for most of your life from that second mind? Because the second mind always looks at the fear, what could happen, instead of, the joy of what could happen. And usually it comes down to, how can you receive? Can you receive that higher wisdom? Because it's the receiving. Because if you can listen and follow, you'll end up where you want to go. Yeah, and when we're operating from here, or even here, even lower, but the heart is the middle, right? Because you still got to use your brains when you're doing stuff. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially I'll meet people, they're floating, I don't know where, and it's like, well, come back to earth, come back, because you're here walking the earth. You're not here floating in the sky. Because the answers are neither here, but they're somewhere in the middle. And that's the heart, because the heart will say, follow this path, and then your brain will intellectualize it. And if you can align them, that's wisdom. That's real wisdom, when you can say, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to overcome these obstacles, but this is the path my heart wants to go. This is the path my higher wisdom wants to go. What I have recently really thought about is, in order to know the beginning or the next step, you have to know the end too. You have to have some kind of destination you're heading to. Otherwise, you kind of always feel like you're scattered, or it's just, oh well, we'll see how it goes, or one day at a time. But when you actually have a bigger plan for your life, or a bigger mission, you understand it in a greater way too. I think the world would be much different if we all could tap into that energy of what is our greater mission. When you have a lot of pride, it's the last thing that'll fall on your journey. And when you're very prideful, that will be the blockage. Stubborn is another one, there's a lot of different words, but when people can just sit with themselves, that's when that second mind gets tamed. And for my journey, what I have learned from that second mind is, it's just the scared little girl within. And once I can let her know it's going to be okay, she gets on board too. Because that's all it is. It's just some little scared girl, boy, depending on who you are, that remembers trauma, that remembers fear. But I think one of the biggest obstacles we have in our modern world is we want it now. We live in a fast food culture, right? Everything's now. Everything's instantaneous. If it takes a minute, it's too long. Whereas before, our ancestors, they had nothing but time. And they could just sit in that time and be like, oh, nope, not time. Oh, yeah, and they knew the timing. Oh, the birds are coming this way. Oh, it must be time for spring. But now it's like, we live in boxes, we work in boxes, we're surrounded in boxes, so we don't even know what time it is. And right now on our earth, we need to know what time it is. We need to know, especially women. We need to know the time, because it's the women who are leading the next chapter. Everything is about balance. That is the way I was taught. So right now we have an imbalance of masculine and feminine energies, and this imbalance has caused such a disconnection with our natural world. So what we see around the world is destruction. We see things that are so out of balance and suffering that it's only the woman who can bring that back to balance, because woman is connected to nature. She's connected to cycles. She's the mother. Most women, a lot of women will give birth at some point. If it's not to a child, it's to something, an idea or a creation. We are birthers. And women, when they step into their full potential and their power, they balance that destruction energy and they bring creation. And that's the energy most needed, because we teach that to the men. We teach that. We teach the beauty of this earth. We're connected in a way that, men learn that through the woman. Now, women, we learn, men are here to build those things. They're here, we need the men. But if the woman is not fully in her power, it's all out of balance. And even the ancients have said, it's the women who turn this around, because women is connected to that higher mystery of intuition. A woman's power is in the nurturing, it's in the caring, it's in the compassion, it's in the gathering. And so we see all these women coming together in all these circles, and I feel eventually they become one, because we're all here for the same reason. We want to see the next generations get better and better. We want to see a beautiful earth for these next generations. We want to see clean water and clear skies. And, our ancestors always thought 7 generations ahead. Now we're lucky to see a day ahead. And so, and I feel like it's not just the women, it's the grandmothers, it's the older women, it's the women who have some wisdom to share, because their voices are the ones not heard. We don't sit with grandma like we used to, but the grandmothers are going to come out now. Walkers and canes and all that, wheelchairs. We're going to bring them all out, because it's the time. And I think what will naturally happen is it'll be craved. It'll be craved, because after you follow all the false gurus and all the YouTube influencers and the whoever, you're going to want more. You're going to want something deeper, and you're going to go to the heart of where it is, and it is not to be found anywhere easy. It's going to require digging. It's like here in Sedona. Yeah, sure, there's 10 million psychics here, but to get to the real one, you got to dig, because that one is not on the front street. It's not in the purple buildings. It's somewhere deeper, and you have to go deeper here to get that, because it'll reflect. It's a mirror. It'll come back and say, oh yeah, here you are. That's all it is. It's just a reflection. And as you clear yourself, the reflection gets more beautiful.